Hey, welcome to the Mysteries. We got Dave M again with us, joining us. We're thankful to have him. How are you, Dave?
I'm excellent, my friend. I hope you're doing well too. Nice to see you.
You too, brother.
Cool.
We've done a few of these videos before. We plan to do many more, so stay tuned. We're going to be going into over 48 years combined knowledge of research into the ancient mysteries. And today we're actually going to be discussing the topics of astrotheology. Dave, as you know, a lot of people, have a lot of misconceptions about astrotheology. Some even turn atheist from it. They think that, because of astrotheology, that it means there is no, that these stories are just simple myths and fairy tales, right? But they're more than that, right, brother?
Right.
Yep,
Yeah, correct.
much more. And these stories contain hidden truths that are obviously somehow instilled into the collective psyche of the soul of humanity. So they keep reoccurring and in the patterns, right? They're always the same patterns in all the stories of the gospels and astrotheological solar hero myths.
Right. Yes.
Yep.
Seems to be, it's kind of like knocking on the door of number 12's right there. You're right. 12 signs, 12 different ways that, throughout a 1 year period that each person goes through and feels, right? And,
Yep.
almost sort of becomes each of them, each of those signs, just as a way it's written in these texts, right?
Yeah. And
You
one of the
know,
best examples of astrotheology I found is in the book Gospel and the Zodiac, The Secret Truth About Jesus. And one thing we have to understand about the Christ and Jesus is that this is more than just an archetype. You could say it is the causal energy, the causal intelligence of all life, right? And this is personified beautifully and mapped out in the heavens. And from what I've found is that ancient seers who understood the truth were able to see these truths on a higher, deeper level and gave on to them those eternal symbols in the vault of heaven as the zodiac because they're permanent. So even if the books get misconstrued or mistranslated or things go missing, the book in the sky is always going to be eternally there. And we know that the intelligence of the universe put it there.
mhm.
So we can
Yeah,
draw
totally.
something.
Yeah, totally. And then it becomes the duty of mankind in all of the different cultures as to how they want to write down what they see or feel or think these cycles. But yeah, the sky justifies it, as above, so below. But I think it would be really cool, dude, if you went into the whole thing about Jesus and the followers and the march and the
Yep.
Aries, and then the whole thing about that, why they followed in this and that, when we were discussing earlier little snippets, is because that is the beginning of the year, right?
Yep. The beginning
March
of the March.
21st, Aries.
March on Mars. And in the
The
Gospel of Mark, all of the
and
characters drop their fishing poles and drop whatever they're doing to follow Jesus into town.
right. And it's because that is the start of the year, which also equals the top of the head. Okay, so right, it makes total sense as you were talking about it earlier, dude, that this is all the beginning of March, the beginning of the new year, which is really the beginning of the year, this whole January 1st thing.
Yep.
I have to look at a wheel here on the chart. So, you know, January 1st is, Capricorn. The kneecaps, the position of the zodiacal sign Capricorn on the human form. Why in the heck would the ancients start the year at the kneecaps?
Yep.
Right? So that's why, it's not just that these written characters had these followers, following them and this and that, is because this was these stories and whatnot, however we want to label them, these attempts to interpret the sky, right, is
Yep. So we have in Aries, for example, you have the baptism of Jesus, the beginning of ministry, themes of newness, 12 apostles, which is all sign of spring equinox, initiation, impulsiveness, assertiveness, pioneering. See, Jesus is the pioneer, and as he pioneers, he gets followers who just drop what they're doing in all enthusiasm and follow the Christ, which represents the spiritual whim, the spiritual impulse. And it's teaching us that we have to begin again anew. Essentially, we have to start off right from where we're at and kind of experience a mini rebirth, and to not question things so logically and get in our left brain that we need to just drop our fishing poles and follow the Lord, right? Figuratively.
And buddy, if I could just like add to that, you know, he says, you know, start anew, and this is spring.
Yep.
This is the beginning. This is when everything new starts, over and over and over and over and over. Right? This is spring. This is the beginning. So, you know, so once you see and you know that this is not just fairy tale fables and stories with characters, but these characters have this natural meaning. You know, him saying all that is totally exactly what the planet does.
Yep.
It's pure nature. So to be able to have these texts written and see this underlying science beneath these allegorical, you know, cute fairy tales, to, you know, put these beings on a higher plateau and think they're more than us to boot, right, is totally wrong as well. These are lessons on what we are.
Yeah, and some a
maybe
little bit
that's
more
not in
explicit.
content.
Yeah, some a little bit more explicit because
It's all related. It's all
you
but,
have
sorry.
John the Baptist saying the Lamb of God is, you know, behold the Lamb of God, unworthy to even buckle his sandal, a reference to the feet. And also a sense of John the Baptist being the intellect, right? He's the part of the archetype in us, that he's the way shower. And he's saying that he's not the one to follow. He's just the water baptism, right? We have the four elements: earth, water, air, and fire. And we know that these are also the different elemental representations of the interpretations of the Bible. And you have him basically with that marching enthusiasm to begin again completely anew.
There you go.
And then with Aries being cardinal fire, of course, he says, I would just baptize you with water, Pisces, but the one that comes, you know, next will be baptizing with fire. And that's just a seasonal month change. And also it's a spiritual change within ourselves, as within, so without.
Exactly. You're just using the planet and the planet's man-made, or it's not man-made, 12 months, 12 this, 12, 12, 12, 12, always 12 months in a year, 12 signs, right? But yeah, all of these writings, because also, dude, earlier when we were chatting before we've been chatting for an hour or two, people, and we just hit record here, basically. But how you went into the other characters though too, dude. Was it Mark?
Yeah.
And
So
that, like, sorry, just let me finish here. Just this little part, how, like a prelude, how you said that he was saying this stuff in the time of Aries. Then he was saying this stuff in the time of Taurus. Then this stuff in the time, right? Showing that he, you know, him nor either of these characters in any of the old writings are just one of the signs, right?
Yeah, and it changes. So all the characters are playing part of Aries in that chapter. John the Baptist is exuberating Aryan qualities. Jesus is, all the disciples are playing part with the season. And then it automatically shifts to Taurus. Starts talking about the farmer's parable, reap what you sow, being steady, perseverance. You know, you have the rock, and you understand how the zodiac changes from our spiritual journey, where we have to be enthusiastic and to go on a leap of faith and pioneer our own spiritual journey. But then we have to follow that through with the fixed energy of Taurus to be perseverance. How many of us are so enthusiastic? We have this little spiritual, you know, epiphany, and we say, oh, we're going to change everything. We're going to do it. We're going to get up and follow the Lord. And then the next day or the next week, we're just back to our same old slouchy habits, right?
Mhm.
We got to
Oh,
use the next season of Taurus to really lock it in.
right, dude. Now, see, just from the stuff you were saying, when you look at, a wheel chart on the wall and, you know, Taurus follows Aries, and you said that, you want to speak your mind and say, blah, blah, blah. Taurus, bullshit, right?
Yep.
Mouth, throat, right? So, that character went from, Aries, which was start, beginning, rebirth.
Oh, it's amazing how it does it.
No,
It goes all
like,
the way through it.
right?
Check this out. I have a little quote here. To anyone familiar with zodiacal symbolism, however, the man carrying the water pitcher is immediately recognizable as the symbol of the sign of Aquarius. But
Right.
why should he appear at the point in narrative, and why should other Aquarian images appear close by? Images of social upheaval, which would be announced by the signs in the clouds of heaven, mark. More intriguing still, why are these Aquarian images followed by an array of Piscean ones? Betrayal, suffering, sacrifice, as the gospel draws to a close. If these two signs, the final two zodiac, are so clearly evident, is it not just possible that the others are present too? And that's where we see in Aries, we have the baptism of Jesus, the beginning of ministry. Taurus, parables of growth, agriculture, imagery,
Yeah.
production, wealth, accumulation, going straight into Gemini, themes of man with legion, the double miracle. And I'd like to kind of go into Gemini. You're a Gemini yourself. I'm an
Yes,
Aries,
sir. Yeah.
and talk about Gemini a little bit and the mysteries of legion and the theme of duality, and even how the Bible, it goes into that too. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It follows
You
the path.
know, psychologically and, mentally and whatnot. Yeah. Everything that's written that you can see in these underlying sciences of these types of texts is exactly dead on to how people are. And I like to throw something in there too about these signs. It's more so the ruling planets, that should be studied because, myself as a Gemini, the signs and the characters and symbols for the signs are picked greatly to depict the planet, the ruling planet of each, right? Gemini being Mercury and whatnot. But yeah, going through, I have, when you were talking earlier there, dude, and touched on Pisces, I have this thing where, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, there's three interesting things side by side there. There's water being poured on top of fish. So water is creating, life, cellular life on Earth, whether it be in the water or, on land, whatever. But then all cellular life, once decomposed, becomes the 12 inorganic minerals, goes back into the biochemic stuff and creates again, which then is Aries, and that's the start of everything.
Yep.
Over and over in the text, new beginning, new,
Yep.
right? That's
And it's
the
amazing. It goes,
January 1st, right?
yeah, the enthusiasm, the impulsiveness and assertiveness of the pioneering Jesus Christ Aries energy,
Yeah,
then straight into Taurus, production,
yeah,
wealth, agricultural imagery.
right.
Then Gemini, themes of duality, man is legion. We have to eliminate
Yeah,
the egos within and become individuated.
yeah, the twins.
Then we go into Cancer, which is themes of nurture, attack on traditions, food and stomach concerns.
Yeah, well, we're
And
going down.
then yep,
We're going down the human form from the top of the head. It's like you take the ecliptic, which has the 12 signs on it, and it's a circle or a cycle, but you snip that in between Pisces, Aries, lay it out in a straight line, and, like a yardstick, put Aries at the top at your head,
yeah,
at the cerebrum. And I'm going to have to say to you, my good brother, that this might be a good length for a teaser because look at that little note on the top there, buddy.
yep, yep.
Wind her on down, my brother, and it's nice talking to you people. And stay tuned. You won't believe what we got planned.
Yeah, stay tuned. We got a lot more of this. And like I said, just follow that inner consciousness within us. That essentially is the sun. That consciousness within us guides us throughout all of our life. And that is the Christ. And the Christ is within all of us. And it is personal. It's just that they've historicalized this, made it look as if it's just mundane history, something that can be pinpointed. So let's just try to be transcendental and try to understand the mysteries from a higher point of view and see if we can find the truth. So thanks so much for joining us and have a good one.